Okay.
So now, well, the IELTS is known as, or the word IELTS stands for the International English Language Testing System. And this International English Language Testing System is the property or the ownership of three different partners. And these three different partners who own the overall IELTS brand are: number one, it is IDP in Australia, and this body, IDP in Australia, means International Development Program in Australia. They look into the quality matters. And number two, the Cambridge University, it sets out the syllabus for the students, what will be asked from them. And number three is the British Council, and British Council is responsible for the conduct of tests. So now the overall IELTS brand, International English Language Testing System, is the property of, or the ownership of, three different partners. Number one is IDP, International Development Program in Australia. Number two is the Cambridge University, and it is in UK. And third one is the British Council. The IDP looks into the quality matters. Quality means that the standard should maintain, the goodwill should maintain. Nobody could find out any loop in the IELTS examination to fake development, for the fake development of any specific document and the things like that. Number two, the Cambridge University assures PET and perfect syllabus to be tested for the all relative modules and exams included in IELTS system. And number three is the British Council, and the British Council conducts the test on behalf of the rest of the two partners. So now the ownership is in the hand of three bodies: IDP, Australia, the Cambridge University, and number three is the British Council. So now I go ahead and proceed further. So now, if you talk about the vision of this specific Zeeshan IELTS, I'm telling you very clearly that Zeeshan IELTS is not focusing upon the lower band of its students. To be very honest, we are only striving for the higher bands. We are striving for 8 and 9 bands of our students. This will be a astonishing thing for overall student community that Zeeshan IELTS have earned more than 153 9 bands in last 1 year. So now the overall strength of the brand is attaining the 9 band. The overall struggle of the brand, or overall the effort of the brand, is for to uplift the bands of the students so that they could get admissions in some good universities, and they could get the scholarships in their studies, and their visa process could be facilitated by achieving the higher band, because higher band in IELTS assures many benefits. The first benefit is the good university admission. The second benefit is that university, on the basis of the good band score, may give scholarship to the students. And number three, the visa granting authority remains more lenient on the higher band score students. So the Zeeshan IELTS overall is working for the betterment of the students' overall comprehension on the IELTS exam, so that they could uplift their bands up to 8 and 9 in all specific exams and overall in the IELTS as well. To assure or to attain 6 bands or 6.5 bands has never been a motto of Zeeshan IELTS. So if somebody wishes to have the band score of 6, 6.5, and 7, they just simply attend the class so regularly. We can assure that by the grace of God, they can very easily attain 6 and 6.5 bands. That is not a problem for overall systematic Zeeshan IELTS. Okay. So now the overall vision is to strive for the better bands of the students. In IELTS, remember, there are 4 exams. There are 4 exams which are taken in overall IELTS system. International English Language Testing System, which is an exam of 2 hours and 45 minutes. In these 2 hours and 45 minutes, if we talk about that, what happens actually in these 2 hours and 45 minutes, students have to undergo 4 exams. The first exam is known as the reading exam. Number 2 is known as the writing exam. The third one is known as the listening exam. And number 4 is known as the speaking exam. So overall in IELTS, students have to go for 4 exam attempts. Number one, the first exam attempt is known as the reading exam. The second one is known as the writing exam. The third one is known as the listening exam. And the fourth one is known as the speaking exam. So in IELTS, there are 4 exams students has to go for. Number one, reading. Number two, writing. Number three, listening. And number four is speaking. These 3 exams, for an example, reading, writing, and listening, these take place in one day. So these take place in one day means on any day one, they take place together. So reading, writing, and listening, they take place on one day. They are taken on a single day, while the speaking exam in majority countries of the world, they are taken on another day, day number 2. So this day number 2 is normally 2 to 3 days before reading, writing, and listening exam. And this second day can be 2, 3, 4, 5 days after day 1 of reading, writing, and listening exam. So what this means? This means that IELTS is not a single sitting exam. It is a dual, twice sitting exam. On one day, reading, writing, and listening are done. And on another day, the speaking exam is done. This other day can be 3, 4, 5 days before reading, writing, listening, and it can be 3, 4, 5 days after reading, writing, and listening. But the pattern may change in the country, in a country, in any specific state. This pattern may vary, but what I'm telling you is overall the general pattern of the Cambridge IELTS system. So now, I first come on the writing exam. The writing exam, overall time for the exam out of 2 hours 45 minutes, 60 minutes are dedicated to the writing exam. So writing exam takes 60 minutes out of total 2 hours and 45 minutes. So now these 60 minutes are given to 2 different tasks of what students have to perform or the examinees have to perform in their exam. The first thing they have to do is known as the summary or the letter writing. It is given 20 minutes. It is given 20 minutes and 33% marks of your writing exam. They come from this side, which is known as the summary writing. This summary writing is for the students who are known as the students who are going abroad for the purpose of the study, means the academic students. And if they are going abroad for the sake of work, their first task will be to write a letter. And again, for letter, there will be 20 minutes and 33% marks of the total writing exam will be taken from the letter. The second task the examinees have to perform in the writing examination is the essay writing. And this essay writing takes 40 minutes, or the rational time allocation for the essay writing is the 40 minutes. And in these 40 minutes, students have to write 250 words on a prescribed topic, and 66% marks are allocated or given by essay side to the total writing score. In your summary or the letter, students are required to write 150 words on a picture. This picture can be a graph, can be a map, can be a life cycle, can be a line chart, can be a pie chart, can be a table. So that I will be explaining in detail when I will be working on the writing exam. So now the first exam is the writing exam. The time for exam is the 60 minutes. How many tasks are to be done? 2. First task is for academics, summary writing. What is summary writing? 150 words on a picture. 33% score will be given by the summary, and the time for the summary will be 20. The second task that we are going to do in the writing exam is to write an essay, and this essay will be of 40 minutes and 250 words are required to be written on any one topic, and 66% marks will be taken from the essay side in your total writing exam. The writing oral score will reflect in the term of a band. there is a word known as band. The score of IELTS is reflected, or it reflects in a word known as band. So now 0 stands for the minimum and 9 stands for the maximum band. A very, very common or a layman approach to understand what 0 to 9 band means. If somebody takes 50% score in the writing exam, he may be taking 4.5 bands out of 9. If somebody would be taking 60% numbers in the writing exam, he may be taking 5.5 band, 70% 6.5 band, 80% 7.5 band, 90% 8.5 band, 100% it is 9 band. Okay. So the band is the score that we get in our exam. Okay. So if there are 4 exams in IELTS, reading, writing, listening, speaking, there will be 4 bands. One band will be for writing, one will be for reading, one will be for listening, one will be for speaking. This will be known as individual section band. All these 4 scores will be added and divided by 4. This will result in your overall band. So overall band of IELTS is our average number of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The first exam is the writing exam that I've explained in front of you. And number 2, the second exam students or the examinees have to go for is the next exam is the reading exam. In reading exam, examiner allocates 60 minutes to the examiners. So 60 minutes are given to examinees and they are given 3 passages. They are given 3 passages, and these 3 passages that student covers in 60 minutes contain 40 questions in total after them. So maybe first passage contain 13 questions, the second passage may contain 13 questions, the third passage may contain 14 questions. In total, 3 passages contain 40 questions in total, in lump sum, in aggregate. And in these 60 minutes, a student or an examinee has to overgo and complete all 3 passages with the 40 questions which are given by the examiner after every passage. So now the total marks for this reading exam are 40. So total marks for this reading exam are 40. And again, the band is calculated near to in the same way. For an example, if somebody has taken 50% score, it is a layman approach. It is not an accurate approach. If somebody works on 60%, 50% score, he may be taking 4.5 band, 60%, 5.5, 70%, 6.5, 80%, 7.5, 90%, 8.5, and then 100%, 9 band. Okay. So now reading exam, 60 minutes, 3 passages, 40 questions in total, and there are total 40 marks. Means 1 question answer will give you 1 mark or 1 mark. So now the third exam in the IELTS test would be the listening exam. And what is this? Listening exam is an exam of 30 minutes. 30 minutes exam will be on a single time played recording. There will be only a single time played recording that will not be repeated in exam room, and then students have to work on their questions and answers in these 30 minutes. Overall, there are 4 sections in exam. Overall, in listening, there are 4 sections in exam, and every specific section contains 10 questions each. 10 questions each section. So if 4 sections contain 10 questions each, means there are total how many questions? 40. So there are 40 questions in total. And in these 40 questions, students have to work on 4 sections. Every one section will contain the 10 questions each. And overall 40 questions will give us 40 marks. If you are sitting in a computerized examination, there will only be 30 minutes for the whole listening exam. But if you are sitting in a manual exam, after 30 minutes recording, you will be given 10 extra minutes to transfer your answers from a question sheet to the answer sheet. But this facility of 10 minutes additional from the question sheet to answer sheet These 10 addition minutes will only be available for those students who are attempting the manual. If some student is sitting on a computer exam or he is sitting on a computer to attempt the exam, he will not be given any extra minute. He has to write the answer in these 30 minutes only. No extra time will be allowed by the examiner to these students. So now the fourth exam in IELTS that will come up and students have to go for it. The fourth exam is the speaking exam. So now speaking exam has 15 minutes on. So writing 1 hour, reading 1 hour, listening 30 minutes, 2 hour 30 minutes have gone. So out of 245 minutes, only 15 minutes are left. And these 15 minutes are for your last in the fourth exam. It is known as the speaking exam. So now what is speaking exam? Speaking exam is an exam of 3 different tasks that students have to perform in exam room. The first thing is the examiner's question and answer session, and this take only about 5 minutes. Examiner asks you about your name. He may ask you about your ID or the passport. He may ask you about your work or the study. He may ask you some question relating to your study. He may ask you some question relating to your work. He may ask you some question relating to your interest. He may ask you some question about your home, your house, your flat, your streets, and your hometowns and the weather. Whatever he may even wishes to ask, he can. But the normal questions are about your name, number 2, about your passport ID, number 3, about your study, number 4, about your work, if you are a worker. And one more question is added that may be from any topic, but more commonly the hometown, the house, the hobby, the primary school. I will be providing the whole book of the speaking, and that will contain all the topics that examiner may ask, and exam will be from the same book, inshallah. So now the first thing that a student has to do in the speaking exam is the examiner question and answer session. The second thing is known as cue card speak. Cue card speak is the task number 2, and in this task students have to speak for 2 minutes on a given topic in English language. Examiner provides 1 minute for the tayari or the preparation, and after 1 minute's preparation, student has to speak on the topic for 2 minutes. This topic can be on anything, but more likely the topic may relate to technology, the topic may relate to humanity, this may relate to hobbies, this may relate to events, this may relate to anything that is changing in the world, this may be relating to the climate, this may be related to applications, but more commonly, these are related to the events and the changes which are taking place in the current era. So after this one, students are asked some questions again by the examiner, and it is task number 3, the last task, and this takes about 2 to 3 minutes. More likely, these questions on the task 3 relate to your task number 2. For an example, you have spoken something about the topic given in the cue card. Examiner keeps listing that, and then he asks you about the speech that you have made in task number 2. He may ask you certain follow-up questions. For example, here, if the cue card was relating to the primary school and you have spoken something about it, he may ask you who was your favorite teacher in your primary school, how did you go to the school in the childhood, what was the favorite thing in the school, what was the thing that you disliked the most in the school. So these may be the follow-up questions relating to task number 2 of the speaking exam, but sometimes these cannot be. Examiner may ask you some general questions. So what I have told you people about the IELTS, I'm going to summarize that in 30 seconds. What is that? IELTS, International English Language Testing System, owned by IDP Australia, Cambridge University UK, and number 3, British Council UK as well. IDP Quality, Cambridge University syllabus, and the British Council tests. IELTS exam contains 4 sub-exams: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Writing exam is of 60 minutes with 2 tasks. Reading exam is for 60 minutes with 40 questions. Listening exam is of 30 minutes with 40 questions. And speaking exam is of 15 minutes only with 3 tasks: examiner question answer, cue card, and examiner question and answers, follow-up questions relating to the cue card. Is there any question? I would be very happy to answer the question.